It's not just the device. It's not just treating a hearing condition, but it's understanding the patient is going through stress, anxiety, sleep difficulties. They're really suffering. They thought their problem was so bad and they needed help so badly that they drove 4 hours. So that was the initial aha moment of maybe we can do this in a more efficient, more tech forward way of helping these patients.
So Ben, thank you for making the time to. This is the first time we're chatting, right? And although we're in similar circles, and I've seen your face many times, it's nice to actually have a conversation and document this conversation as we kind of explore a little bit about your background and some of the big lessons learned on your journey. But yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for joining.
Happy to be here.
So I suppose best starting point on this, and really for my context as well, and for the listeners' context, just give us a bit of background. Like, what drew you to audiology? What give us the story, man.
Yeah, so I completed audiology, my audiology degree program in San Francisco, and I had an interest in tinnitus, working with patients who had tinnitus. I had some expert mentors through my program, and then in my externship at a major medical center in San Francisco. And in the Bay Area in Northern California, I was exposed to people who run startups, people who, are digital nomads, people who just think differently.
Mm.
And that put me in the position to realize, maybe I can provide some telehealth service for patients, focusing on tinnitus. About 5 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and in the last 5 years, have been consistently publishing videos on YouTube. And then also started a telehealth practice called Treble Health, where patients who have bothersome tinnitus can work with our team of audiologists. So, my interests are tinnitus care, which is the specialty within audiology, as well as marketing and content marketing, and also running a private practice.
Gotcha. Oh, and what drew you to tinnitus? Why did that stand out as a special interest? And the main reason I ask is, yeah, a lot of the practice owners I speak to, it's we'll try and serve everyone and help in any way possible. And you've kind of chose a lane and a speciality. What's the context on that?
Yeah, for me, it was the fact that in those appointments, the actual care is it's very holistic. It's comprehensive. It's not just the device. It's not just treating a hearing condition, but it's understanding the patient is going through stress, anxiety, sleep difficulties. They're really suffering. So working with these patients over a series of months, it can turn their very bothersome health problem that has turned their life upside down into a manageable condition that they're confident and they feel like their life is back to normal. So it was that gratification of really helping people through one of the hardest conditions they've ever faced.
Gotcha. So with Treble Health being kind of the core company in the way that you help customers, clients, patients right now, that's unique, right? It's gone the non-traditional route of going digital first rather than the old school hands-on approach. Yeah, what was the why? Why did you go that way? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I was in an appointment in my externship, which is the audiology residency. I was in an appointment with a patient in San Francisco, California, and this patient drove 4 hours to see us from Lake Tahoe, from the mountains. And the whole appointment could have been completed via Zoom, right?
Mm.
So I started to realize, okay, there's clearly a need. This is an underserved population. This patient had already been to their primary care doctor. They'd already been to an ENT specialist. They've already seen an audiologist, but they thought their problem was so bad and they needed help so badly that they drove 4 hours. So I knew that Zoom and telehealth was available. So that was the initial aha moment of, maybe we can do this in a more efficient, more tech forward way of helping these patients, connecting the providers who are pretty rare to fully specialize in tinnitus. It's unlikely someone has a great tinnitus audiologist in their local town. But then we can hire, and we brought on audiologists from across the country who specialize in this. And no matter where the patient is, as long as the audiologist is licensed in their state, then they can see them for the care.
Interesting. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. Firstly, what year did Treble Health start? I'm just intrigued to see if it was pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID.
The consideration phase was about 2 years pre-COVID, and then it was a combination of I went on a hike on the Pacific Crest Trail for about a week in the wilderness where there's just a lot of time to think, and I thought, okay, I've wanted to do YouTube channel for tinnitus. I think this year I'm gonna do it. And then I went to I took a New Year's trip to Guatemala, and I took a workshop. And again, it was this emphasis on okay, this is the start of a new decade. Like, are you going to take your life seriously? I was like, okay, I'm going to do this YouTube channel. I got the camera equipment. I was starting to get the gears turning, and then COVID happened. And I was single. I was living in an apartment. I was in California where it was pretty serious lockdown. So basically, I just obsessed over how to start a YouTube channel and took a free video marketing course and just kept on going from there.
Beautiful. So did Treble Health come out of the YouTube channel's growth? Was the YouTube channel the plan in order to build a pipeline customers for Treble Health? How did they kind of sit together?
It started off very humble, where I thought this whole thing would just be me being an individual business owner doing appointments with patients, and that would be my future. So that's what I was working towards. Was working towards developing an audience online and then offering one-on-one services and make enough revenue from that where I'd be able to quit my day job.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. Um, so it's interesting, right? YouTube, I think is probably going to play one of the biggest roles going forward, especially with everything that's going on with Google right now. I think a lot of practices should be focusing on YouTube. Like, help me understand your customer pipeline, or however we want to phrase that, of people who find you, discover you, and then end up working with you. What does the role of YouTube play in that? Is YouTube where it all comes from? Is it one of the many components? Yeah, help me understand the how you get customers.
Yeah, I'm an audiologist. I'm a private practice owner, and I love to speak to other listeners who are in that same group, because I feel like we've unlocked the content marketing piece of this in a pretty unique way. There's a few other groups I think who have really committed and put all their chips into content marketing, and really that's what a YouTube video is. And from what I'm seeing when I'm searching on Google now, there's many more YouTube videos that are showing up on the first page. So it is interesting, like you're saying, how these things evolve. I think the core thing is similar to a blog article, or even similar to an advertisement. the a video for YouTube will get in front of the potential customer, and then they decide if they want to take the next action. So on a very simple level, that's what's going on here. And the better videos we make, the more videos we make, the uh, the more people they get sent to on the YouTube platform, and then a certain percentage of those will reach out to us for a consultation.
Gotcha. So really doubling down from a content marketing perspective and going, how do we create a quantity of quality content through YouTube, has been kind of the catalyst of how you've grown Treble Health and how you continue to build awareness for the services that you offer and then attract people towards you.
It has, and I want to discuss something with you, because I
Sure.
think a common objection from private practice owners who say, let's say, for example, they're in Washington, D.C., just as a city in the United States. For them, they're thinking of, okay, my local market will come see me for appointments. YouTube is a national or global platform, so it takes a lot of work to get views on YouTube, and out of 100 views, how many people would even drive to Washington D.C.? So what's your thought on that? Because I think that's a common objection, or um, you know a friction point for why private practices don't do content marketing or even blog articles to some degree.
Yeah, agreed. And it's an interesting conundrum. And I think the biggest challenge that I see with many practice leaders is the view that they've built on marketing and advertising is built on a decade ago, which means that anything that you do has to justify a direct return on investment. And YouTube is not the best place to go if you want the quickest return on investment. And this is the difference between uh, advertising and marketing. Like, advertising is like asking somebody on a date, and marketing is all the reasons they would say yes. Like, very, very different factors. And um, when you have the belief, like many practices do, that everything is advertising, I need to spend $1,000 today and I need $1,500 back tomorrow, and then I can rinse and repeat that money. That kind of fixation of mindset is what means that things like YouTube don't get the focus, time, and attention that they probably should. But the puzzle and conundrum there of international audience versus local audience, like they complement each other very well. Dare I say, if somebody in your marketplace does a bit of due diligence and research online and sees that you're a very well-renowned thought leader on hearing healthcare and you just matter to live 6 miles from them, then you're probably going to win that opportunity. You're probably going to win that patient. They're probably going to choose you over all the other people locally that may look like you because you've got international reputation locally. So, we've got a member that we work with that's really doubled down on YouTube over the last couple of years, and they've got a real balance of content that attracts international audiences, but then content that's very, very localized focus, like the two doctors trying a brownie from the local brownie shop that everyone in the town and community knows. Like that mix is the beautiful balance where they can get the stats that they would need in order to look pretty impressive online, but they've got the real connection based content that makes a difference.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think of how the videos can either be like more top of funnel awareness, actually driving direct sales and customers,
Yep.
or like you're saying, they can help on the conversion side of things, where maybe someone finds you through an organic Google Maps posting, and then they're on your website, maybe they're on your email list, and then they connect with the brand through the YouTube videos, or they see, oh, this person really cares, or I'm watching their face and I can learn about their personality before I even show up. So yeah, I think those are the two methods of how to use video to help private practices.
And video has a wonderful job of allowing people to meet you and see if they want to work with you prior to them spending time with you. Once again, most private practice, like the patient doesn't really meet you until they meet you. This is a great way to qualify. This is a great way to either push people away who are not the right fit, pull people who are the right fit, and it builds vast amounts of credibility and expertise that when people show up, they're already somewhat pre-sold that you're the people to help them. And especially more than ever right now with, you look at the stats of boomers on the social platforms they spend their time on. YouTube is just behind Facebook for where they're spending engagement. It's a wonderful way to build rapport, build engagement, especially in a world right now where I think personal brand in our industry is going to be exponentially more important than the traditional route of hide behind the logo and a reputation.
And
Especially more and more as AI starts to play a role and you start to question more and more what you're seeing on the internet.
I have a theory that there will be a differentiation in brands who are really focusing on, I'm a human, let me show you my imperfections as a human, let me be vulnerable, authentic, let me tell you stories, versus brands who are sort of nameless, faceless. It's sort of just a website with some text and some stock images, and people want to buy from people. That's an expression we've all heard. So as AI plays out, it does seem to me like those who are connecting their face and their community and their story with their practice will have a better conversion for leads.
Absolutely. And we're seeing it more and more with AI overviews and what Google are going to launch through their AI mode that's currently in labs, and even use ChatGPT as the very practical today example. Like getting people directly to your website to then build affinity and relationship with them is becoming more and more difficult because Google or ChatGPT or the AI in the middle is answering many of the questions that people are searching during their research phase when they're kind of middle of the funnel. The beauty of YouTube like this is you kind of get to jump ahead of that. When I go to do any form of research now, whether I'm looking to buy a car or buy a new computer screen, I'm usually going to YouTube to find real people who've experienced it, who can give me some real life feedback. And I think more and more we're going to be more questionable of the AI that gives us very bland, vanilla answers, even if it's the right answer. We kind of want the truth. And it's no surprise that we're seeing like Reddit increasing traffic and people want to spend time there because, getting real opinions from real people that is not AI written, that just directly connects with who we are as humans, right? And YouTube does meet that beautifully.
It does. I'd love to share probably the next thought of a private practice owner is, okay, okay, Oli, that's great. How do I even make a video? I've never made a video. How do
Mm,
yeah, YouTube channel? I don't know. Maybe I'll make videos, but how do I film them? How do I upload them? Um, should I hire someone? Should I do it myself? Have you had those conversations with any practice owners?
absolutely. And I think this is a key. Well, there's not many other people that have 160,000 subscribers in our industry. So if there's anybody who can help answer that question, then we're probably speaking, right?
I think so.
Um, so yeah, give me some context on this. Like going back to
Yeah.
how you started this versus kind of what you've learned along the journey. What are some of the key things that stand out as like key lessons of how to get momentum, how to get engagement on YouTube?
Yeah, great question. The hardest thing is the psychological friction and perceived struggle of filming a video where I'm speaking to the internet, and once it's up there, I'm not going to be able to really edit it.
Mm,
And I might be judged for what I say. I might not feel like I'm qualified to put myself out there. I mean, for me, those were certainly big factors. Maybe that applies to younger audiologists more so. But certainly there's a resistance from most people of putting their face out there on the internet. Um, you know, things like I don't want to try to be famous. Um, I care about my patients, but I don't really need the whole internet to judge me.
yep.
What if someone doesn't think I'm handsome? Or what if someone says, don't trust this guy? So those are sort of like those are mostly like subconscious thoughts that we're not really aware of, but they actually do drive us to resist it. So being aware that if you're if you're noticing you're not filming videos or you're pushing it off, that it's totally normal, and just hold space for those parts of it. The actual tactics are a little simpler, where you know uh, basically get pay $1,000 for like a DSLR camera. It's like a pretty standard digital camera, like the ones that you've seen photographers or videographers use. And I would go on ChatGPT and search like what is a good DSLR camera in 2025, and what is a good microphone attachment that goes with it. We're working with people who have hearing loss, so make sure your audio quality is just as good, if not better, than your video. And then from there, it's about building the habit and the consistency of this is another really hard part, especially if you're running a private practice, which is to say, look, Ben, I've got 5 fires going on right now. I've got these employees. I'm trying to grow revenue. I'm trying to stay profitable. Uh, if making videos is a medium to long-term ROI, I don't even know if I am going to last that long, or I'm kind of month to month here, and it doesn't seem like these videos are going to change my business within a month. That part of it is definitely true. And if you really are like struggling month to month, maybe this is not the right time to do video. But if you're decently profitable and you're like planning for the medium to long term, then building consistently either weekly or every 2 weeks, like a 2 or 3 hour block where the only thing you have to do is film videos. Like in that time block on your schedule, there's one metric of success: is did you film a video, and is it completed? Those are some of my tips of actually how to get started and build momentum.
Gotcha. I like it and completely agree. I think we all stand in our own way, especially with stuff like this, and it is uncomfortable. I remember the first videos I did as relatively new in the industry, trying to give opinions to people that have been in the industry for decades. Like I was in my own way, and my own head shit resulted in me delaying releasing videos for far too long. And it naturally happens. As you said, it's habit building. Once it becomes on the schedule and a non-negotiable, and you've made a commitment to I'm gonna play this out for a certain level of time. And I remember having a conversation with Dr. Cliff about the way he launched his YouTube channel, and he said, I'm going to release a video regularly for a whole year and not even look at the stats. Like it's happening. But if I end up looking at the stats and thinking like nobody's watching, then momentum's going to die out. And it was the commitment to I'm just going to do this because I know it's the right thing to do, which I think holds significant power. So a few kind of fast fire questions on this for you. Um, Topics, like how do you decide what to talk about? Because, I'm looking across your videos and we've got like average of 10 minutes of you talking about a certain topic. Like, how do you decide on the topic, the content? Is there any form of structure that you follow? What's the strategy behind that?
When deciding on what video topic, there's a few good methods of how to do it. The first is understanding what are the common questions your patients have. So, for example, if it's hearing loss, what causes hearing loss? If it's, what are the treatments for hearing loss? Um, what are the best types of hearing aids? When should someone start using a hearing aid versus wait? What degree of hearing loss justifies a hearing aid? Those are questions that any clinical audiologist can just talk about for 5 minutes straight, 10 minutes straight, because that's what they do every day. So that's that's a helpful thing to say, which is each of us, we already have our 5 to 10 minute internal script of how to address these common questions that patients have, and then being able to record that, that's an effective way to do it. You can run that similarly for tinnitus or dizziness or cognitive decline and hearing loss. That's how I would approach it first. Common questions that you already know the answers to. It's already hard enough to film the video. We don't want you to have to learn something new and then try to remember something you barely understand. So just go with the things you understand the best, and that's
Beautiful.
how I do it.
And these videos can then buy you back time in the practice, right? If patient has a challenge, if your front desk are trying to field a question, they've got assets that they can then utilize, which is awesome. Is there any certain structure to the video that you found works? Like you hear commonly, like start with the hook and then
Yeah.
break it into 4 or 5 things. Like anything that you've learned from a structure of video for best success?
Yeah, I think just getting started, the hardest thing is to feel authentic and natural. When I look back to my first videos I uploaded, I almost cringe because I think, oh, that's so not my voice. And I was trying to put on a persona based on other online creators I saw. So that's totally normal. And I think with that, like calm yourself down, take a few breaths. Like just, I tell myself often before I record anything, like if this helps one person, then it's worth my time. So there are other people on the other side of the camera. So I think that is probably the most important thing. Be authentic, be real. There are like actual structures of how to set it up. Um, Basically the idea is keep people watching, right? If people are bored with it and they say, oh, Ben already said that 30 seconds ago, he's rambling, they're going to click off the video. So um, try to be succinct. And those are my two tips.
Gotcha. And then one thing that I've noticed, and I've literally just clicked to the oldest videos. Sorry for that. I'd hate for somebody to watch my old videos from 5 years ago as well, but they're in public domain, right? Is the one thing that I find interesting is like your thumbnails, the way you position videos. Like, how do you do this? Have you built a team around you to help deliver these? Do you do all this yourself? And I know I'm adding laser complexity that may cause more friction for somebody to start, but when people do start, they want to be very good at it. And it's rare that we get somebody who's been on this journey that can tell some stories and some best practices that can help
Yeah.
somebody beginning. So, what does
Yeah.
your process look like from hitting record through to it being published on YouTube?
Yeah. So I'm talking right now to the private practice owner who doesn't have that much time and is looking for ways to get in front of potential patients or ways to improve their business or improve their leads or improve their conversion of their leads. For that person, I would say um, going on a site like Upwork, for example, and what you'll want is two roles or two individuals that work on an hourly basis or like a per project basis. One would be a video editor, and the second would be a thumbnail designer, YouTube thumbnail designer. Thumbnail is the picture on the video where if you're scrolling on a YouTube video, you'll see a picture before you see the video, and you have to click the picture to get to the video. I think hiring on an hourly basis for those two roles, Upwork, I'm not affiliated with them, but they give you ratings on people. So we don't want to have to go through a hiring process, train someone who ends up not being a good fit. So it's worth paying a little extra for someone who's proven to be good at these things. I think that's a pretty low risk way to get started, where the thumbnail creation plus the actual editing of the video, which are both time intensive and they're both very technical jobs, getting other people to do those at a fairly low hourly rate, because you can hire internationally for this. It does not need to be in the US. That's how I would do it. So yeah, it takes a little time to get that set up, but well worth it. I started doing all this myself. I think I hired my first video editor about a year after I started making the videos, and I hired my first thumbnail designer about a year and a half after I started making the videos.
Gotcha. Okay. And I suppose final thing just around this YouTube piece off. Is there one thing that you've learned that you was like, why didn't I know that sooner? Like if you could go back to 5 years when you were starting and going, let's accelerate your learning of how you win on YouTube. Any kind of key standout lesson that you wish you knew earlier?
The one thing that's coming to mind here is that it's so common to quit within the first year of doing it, because it's a long-term ROI platform. So I think having the right expectations up front, that if you're expecting this to return with significant customers within 3 months, that's not the right attitude. I think looking at this is, I want longevity of my business. I want long-term success, long-term profitability. The money and the time I'm spending now will lead to medium and long-term ROI, not short-term. So, for example, when I started, I told myself, I don't care if this takes 5 years before I can leave my regular job. This was like a side hustle at the time. I told myself, I don't care if this takes 5 years before I can quit my regular job. I'm committed to it. So that helped me, because if I instead said, I'm trying to quit my job by the new year, I might have given up, because I wasn't making money from it. So that's my main advice, is just understand the context of the long-term benefit, and don't stress yourself out on needing to get short-term ROI, because it probably won't happen.
Gotcha. And I imagine and I'm very intrigued, actually. I'm going to ask one more question on YouTube, because I'm learning a lot here. Is momentum must be a big one, right? Like how the work to get from 0 to 1,000 subscribers through to where you're at now, touching 160. Obviously, when you publish a video, you may see a certain number of views in that first week, but then that video is always going to sit there, always going to do a job. And when you look back in a few years, it's compounded over and over again. Has there been a certain element as you've grown subscribers where you feel momentum's come on your side? What was the hardest stretch?
The hardest thing is that you don't know which videos will actually do really well. Some of the videos I thought would do really well did not. Some of the videos I just randomly made and they do extremely well. So there is unfortunately a results by volume approach, where if you just do more of it, you'll increase the chances that the YouTube algorithm will really surface it. But that might not be so relevant to the private practice owner who might just be thinking of, okay, my local market, using video to serve them. I don't think going for like a viral video is really that that important if you're a local private practice owner. I do think, like we were talking about, it's more of really showing your personality, showing your team, showing your doctors, connecting to the local town, maybe collaborating with other businesses or landmarks in your local town. I think that can really help the sort of mid funnel conversion. So yeah, and I also wanted to say that I think a lot of private practice owners, they do invest in their blog, right? So blog articles are a similar thing where no one's expecting blogs to bring short-term ROI, but it is a medium to long-term ROI platform. It helps bring some leads there, and it helps convert leads, and it helps improve the SEO or the discoverability of the practice. So maybe that's a helpful reference for people to understand.
Beautiful. Right, I'll move on to from YouTube now and ask probably more grown-up questions. So apologies for geeking out on that, but yeah, I've learned a lot, and yeah, appreciate all your wisdom around this. So let's talk about the future of audiology and we'll, dare I say, AI. I suppose first question that I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on is, you're in a bit of a unique situation given that you've seen almost a hands-on approach to audiology and now this kind of remote side, and of course a lot of nuance in that. But from where you're sat, do you think the future of audiology is more tech-led or human-led or a combination of the two? I'm intrigued for kind of how you gaze into the crystal ball of what the future looks like.
Yeah, I think that AI in healthcare, it's first a software play. So it's first, apps are much easier to build, websites are much easier to build, digital chat is much easier to implement, asynchronous digital healthcare, like some of these online companies that don't actually, the doctor doesn't actually talk to the patient, but there's sort of a chat back and forth feature, uploading documents. I think the software part of AI is going to accelerate those businesses. For more service businesses where we're actually touching the patient, and there's like real humans involved with devices on their ears, I do think that's safe. I don't really see that changing all too much. And in terms of like the marketing or the acquiring customers, whether they're going on ChatGPT versus Google or things like that, baby boomer generation, slower to adopt new technology. We've seen that in our industry, of course. So even something as simple as like when I'm talking to people in their 30s or 40s, and we're scheduling a sales call, they're like, "Oh, here's my Calendly link," and I'm like, "Great, I just booked a time." Where what I've learned is that when working with our patients, for example, they don't know what a Calendly link is. They don't know what booking an appointment online themselves, necessarily is. They're more used to calling on the phone. They're like, "Oh no, I want to call on the phone," or "Can you just tell me what time you're available and then I'll let you know when I'm free?" So just small things like that. Last comment is that I'm not really concerned about AI changing the audiology industry all that much at all, other than some software applications that might come down the road.
Gotcha. And
How about you?
um, I think it's going to be a combination. I do think we're on a very weird cusp from an AI perspective. And that cusp is, I don't think we're too far from, as humans, getting to a point where we become a little bit sick of the content and information that we see that's produced heavily by AI. And what I mean by that is, even right now, every time I go through my social media feed, I do not trust a single thing that I'm seeing in front of my own eyes as real. Whether it's an image or a video, it's very, very questionable. And I think where we're probably going to get to at some point in the future is seeing a human is something that's a little celebrated and very, very nice, almost to the point that you can say to someone, "Hey, I went and visited a human today," and they're like, "Oh wow, bet that was expensive." Like I think that's probably what's on the horizon. So I think as AI gets really beneficial from some ways, I think there's going to be this push to face-to-face human time is going to be more appreciated than it probably has been in the past. So I think it's going to sit in the middle. Technology is definitely going to support, streamline, add efficiency. But I think in the industry that we're in, that hands-on stuff is actually going to be better appreciated in the future than it may be right now. Is kind of where I'd have my guess to. Okay, so we've covered the story of how you kind of started, a little bit about the company you run now, and really deep into YouTube, and then the future of audiology. I'll finish on kind of one question that's kind of very relevant to you, and I'd say probably above my pay grade from an audiological perspective. But how do you see AI transforming the way we treat tinnitus in the next 5 to 10 years?
Not all that much. Not all that much. Mostly AI is software. Mostly AI is a way to compute high amounts of data. It's less right now robotics and humanoid robots replacing human jobs. I mean, that likely is going to come at some point. Probably not healthcare so much, just because of the liability of injuring people. But in terms of tinnitus, I think it would help on the research side of crunching large data sets and seeing patterns of which treatments or which solutions, potentially new treatments, are working. Other than that, probably not all too much. That's my guess.
Gotcha. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, look, I appreciate your time greatly and appreciate your transparency, especially around YouTube, something that you've put so much time, effort, energy into to build something so substantial, stripping it back to like the how, the methodology, what you've learned along the process, and talking about the hard yards in the early days of all the reasons why it was easier to not do it rather than do it. That's super, super helpful. And, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. I think YouTube plays one of the most substantial roles in the future of patient attraction, with the role that AI overviews and just the way that let's call it Google is shifting, showing up with educational as a human and growing personal brand is going to play a substantial role. And you're ahead of the curve on this, my friend, and appreciate all your transparency to share everything around this. Just for everybody that's listening who isn't familiar with the work that you do, give yourself just a quick shout out of how they can find more about you, or go and learn more about the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I run Treble Health, and we see thousands of new patients for our comprehensive tinnitus treatment every year. Really have a high volume private practice, and so far it's been only telehealth. In 2025, later part of 2025, we are launching brick and mortar locations as well.
Nice.
And if someone listening has a moderate to severe tinnitus patient, which seems out of their comfort zone, we can certainly collaborate on the care and help you. So definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Ben Thompson AuD, or reach out to us through our website, Treble Health. And yeah, running a private practice is hard, but it's also fun. It's also something that we are choosing to do. So my encouragement for everyone is just, make sure you find time to reset, take care of your health, zoom out, try to really prioritize what's important to you and your practice and your patients. And let's do this.
Beautiful. Appreciate your time.